Okay, I saw that she was online. No, no, this is fine.
Is that better? Which way, up or down?
There she is. Good morning.
Hello, hello.
How y'all doing?
Doing well. Just fine. I was 30 minutes early, so I'm good.
There y'all are. So we got 4 folks here, and they've been asking good questions. We put a couple of them up on that one page on the wiki site. I don't know if you guys have that open.
We do.
Excellent.
So it's the I want to know. Is that the link?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So it says to use the tools in blended learning to support students with disabilities and differentiation.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That would be a good. Do you guys want to be on camera?
However you'd like to do it.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking to them.
Oh.
So any ideas y'all have on that?
Yeah, so I guess we'll take them in order. And actually, I kind of took the liberty of pulling up a system that we're developing with another team here in one of the research projects that we have around tools for supported blended learning. And you know that I focus on everyone. I'm Richard Carter, and I'm a third-year doc student at the University of Kansas, and I work on self-regulation in blended learning environments and now in virtual learning environments as well. And so what we've been working on is developing nothing's easy. Developing tools that are to be done as efficiently as possible in the classroom to support students as they engage in tasks and that pairs with Zimmerman's framework of self-regulation, which I know was in the handout that was given out, but just to review quickly would be forethought, and that's the phase that students go through before they enter a task. Performance phase, which is what students engage in while in the task, and then self-reflection, which is what happens directly after the task. So I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just remind them, what he's referring to is there's one of the presentations with Richard's stuff on it, on self-regulation, that has this stuff that he's speaking about.
So within that, and I have a kind of reminder of that. And Mark, if you want to put the camera toward them, I'm going to show them in a second the examples of this system and maybe walk through quickly about how we're approaching it in these schools, why we're approaching it in these schools.
Is your computer hooked up to this broadcast?
No, it's not, because it's about to pass away. So.
They give you the best computer.
Yeah, I get the.
You want me to go to the page that has those things?
Well, this is actually new, so I don't know if this would work or not. And if it's not going to work, then we'll troubleshoot it real quick and figure it out.
You mean put the camera on your screen up there?
Yeah.
Okay. You're not on.
How well can you see that?
Not at all. Very artistic. Okay, here's what I'll do. I'll have.
Actually, this is making a recording of it, so I don't need to use this. If you just put your camera on it, that should work.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, that's what I showed you.
Yeah.
I just showed them that chart, and so that's
Okay, cool.
things they can use.
I tell you what, if that's not going to work, then we'll just talk through it, and I will send you this. I'll send you this right now.
He thinks he's got it.
Oh, okay, cool. That works then. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank everyone for your patience. So the idea is that in these environments, we've started. There's been an initiative to bring blended learning into the schools. We work with right now. We're supporting 300 teachers in a Midwestern school district. So that being said, what the district has asked us to do is come in and work on the self-reflection piece of it. Because what they found is that self-regulation, as the students started engaging in these environments, the challenge that the teachers had were keeping the students' own tasks during as they moved out to work on in the digital part of it.
Which is one of the concerns we all have with this.
Yeah. So, and this is pretty common. Now, I want to preface this by saying we're working with a number of districts, and one district has a system already built. All right, and I don't know how much the system costs per student, but it's probably around $1,000. So it's a huge investment that the district has made, and this system is a personalized learning system. And they're piloting it, and there's all this wonderful data coming out of it. But not every district is, or has that sizable investment toward this personalized learning or toward blended learning. So what we've done is in the other district we're working in, we've worked to create as cheaply, and it's free, so as cheap as it can get. Kind of something to mimic this system, this like high level system that other districts are using or are starting to invest in. So what we've started with is this target tracker. And I think, Mark, you've already played with the target tracker a little bit in your classroom.
I did, and if I programmed it so the students could actually write on it, it would have worked really well this summer.
Perfect.
But
Yeah.
That taught me what I need to do to use it this year.
Right. Yeah, and what Mark just said is something, is one tenet that is just, it has to be, is the most important thing to me, is that anything that is shown around these systems is that you make it fit your need. We've had a lot of individuals just go in many directions with this first target tracker piece. And for those who aren't familiar with the target tracker, what happens is your students are working toward several different goals in any given time in the classroom. So for instance, one of the classrooms that we're working in has 20 students, and they have 10 different goals, which they state as I can statements. So for instance, I can divide multi-digit numbers by a 2-digit number using reminders and estimating to check my work, is one I can statement that's up on this target tracker. And so that two students may be working on that. And then another student may be working on something else. So the idea is that we recognize the variability in the classroom, and then we have a system that allows the teacher to know where each student is toward their I can statement, and then where and in relation to where the other students are.
So you
I'm sorry?
differentiate this for individual students with specific needs.
Right.
He's linking it back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Good. Thank you. So that being said, this really serves as kind of the hub of communication. And it's, for a lot of reasons, it's up for everyone to view the teacher, which is, it helps you make very efficient decisions about where students need to maybe go next. Do I need to go back and reteach? Do I need to do this? Need to do that? And then it helps students to see where they are in relation to their peers. And then you can develop a system where the students reach out to peers who are who they feel are moving ahead, and that creates the ability for students to just start working toward what's next, which is the performance phase.
Now, do any of you have excuse me? Do any of you have questions based on what Richard's sharing? Okay, because we got about 5 to 10 minutes left.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, they leave at 10.
Okay. Well, yeah, then,
Focus on the disability, students with disabilities and how they respond to those kinds of interventions
well,
or
so,
supports.
yeah, so ideally, so these, for instance, that's a big question. And so in 5 to 10 minutes, here's what we're going to say is that in these large environments with these massive systems, everyone has an IEP. Right. So everyone is working on the same thing. Everyone has the same, has a learning plan that is equal to the other. So ideally what we do with students with disabilities is we've given them a number of strategies to use while they go through these, while they engage in tasks. Like, for instance, a task would be something, or like a strategy would be something like mnemonics that we've taught, or the wonderful strategies that we've developed over the years that we ask students to use to get through.
Would you pre-teach any of these skills?
What's that?
Would you pre-teach any of these skills before they started a blended unit?
Yeah, so this assumes that they're all pre-taught, and it also assumes that the system is pre-taught. So whatever you've been asked in your district, or whatever your school uses, yeah, you're just implementing. It's almost like a buffet when you get to the performance part, right? So whatever skills you've taught, but you're teaching them in when to use them. So you don't use them at the beginning. That's the forethought phase. When you're at the forethought phase, you're thinking about, what do I need to begin the assignment? And then in the performance phase, this is where we're using the strategies. And I'm sure, Mark, you're talking about strategies right now. And if this is a PD day, then I'm sure that, or likely the next session you'll go to, you'll be talking about strategies that someone has brought in for you all to use. And that's where you collect those, is in the performance phase, and use them. Now, is there any one perfect strategy? We know there's not. But what we do know is that if we can have a student think about what they need to go into an assignment, if they have everything at their disposal when they engage in that assignment, then they know when to use the task or when to use the strategies, and then also they know who their peers are that are successfully using these strategies. And that's another kind of layer to this. So you're creating more support for the students within the system. And what we also know is the more data that we collect around how did they do going into it, how did they perform, and then how do they feel about their performance, then we have an idea of we get a better idea of what strategies maybe we need to bring in to work with the student.
Could you do the same thing in a teacher-centered approach?
So yeah, and you can, because what our districts are, what are the local or the Midwestern district we're working with really they focus on blended for only one of their just for math. And so they're not as blended in the other parts of the school day or the other subjects. So what they're still using the target tracker. They're still using this. They're going to be using this.
So they use those pieces even when they're not doing blended learning.
Right. Yeah, they're still there.
Yeah.
They're still in place, because ideally, we're not saying that. Zimmerman did not say that this was for for blended learning. Zimmerman said this is for learning.
Yeah.
And we're just applying it. Go ahead.
Well, and it helps with the scaffolding aspects too, because if the students have to master everything about technology, and then they have to also master, all these strategies to participate in classroom life, then that's a lot. That's a big load for a student, especially a student with many kinds of disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're able to use some of the strategies, whether or not the computers are in the mix, then that is a really good way to help them understand those routines. So
what is, for each of y'all, since we're almost out of time, what is the most important thing that you would share for people that are just beginning to blend their learning?
Well, I was actually reading some tips from Education Week, So I did a newsletter, and I was reading through, and there was about 6 or 8 things. And I think the thing that struck me the most from my reading yesterday was they really encourage teachers to contact the companies. They make the devices that they're going to use. So like if you have an iPad and you're not quite sure what to do with it, or it's on the fritz or whatever, then you call Apple. Or if you're using something from Scholastic, like I used to use Read 180 software in my classroom, then when I was a teacher, then I had to learn how to call Scholastic when there were different kinds of technological problems. And so, and some of the other things I said was, don't be afraid to bring these things home and use them and play with them and tinker with them. And Colin Lancashire, who does lots and lots of stuff with multiliteracies, when he starts helping teachers learn how to use technology, they actually don't do anything with curriculum initially. They just play with the stuff. So those are probably my 2 things if you're going to get started, is just sort of play with the stuff, and then don't be afraid to, contact the big people, the companies and the higher than the district, that make your devices and programs.
And since they want to be friendly with a large school district in the Mid-Atlantic,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and mine would be to you really have to develop a bit of trust with this, because it is a bit of a departure from the traditional classroom. What we've seen is that around time we start assessing, that the teachers begin to get concerned because
Standardized assessment.
The standardized assessment, yes, standardized assessment. Thank you. Is that teachers begin to get concerned because they've given a piece of the education to a computer, right? So yeah. or other things. So but what we also find is that it's just an initial kind of concern, and then it goes away. Because they find that the students test out really well in these assessments. And so it's like that initial fear, and then, oh yeah, the students are really doing well. So that would be my biggest tip.
We call those standards in Virginia, right?
What do they call those?
SOLs.
Oh.
Anyway, thank you guys.
Mm-hmm.
We appreciate your time. We know that it's hard with classes you're teaching and taking. We appreciate your time. Do you want the link to this video?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that would be wonderful. So, and also, you can give them our contact information too if they have questions, or if they just want to bounce an idea off someone, because I do a lot of stuff with the curriculum making, with the activity design, and Richard really focuses a lot on the sort of the skills of using technology. And so we would be glad to answer any additional questions, or
I'll put that up on the
any other way.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'll put that up on the Google site. Excuse me. And yeah, I'll send you the link once I get that finished in a little bit. But again, we do appreciate your time.
No, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
All right. See you. Have a good day.
bye.
Bye.
Bye.